Viewer, how did we land up in an age of Murkhon ke Sardar and Panoti insults, I ask you? I think the time has come for us to stop blaming our vibrant democracy for the steadily worsening quality of political conversation. But even with our increasing appetite and tolerance for abusive words passing for political attacks, there is always an unspoken red line. A line you do not cross, because even in this age of broken ideals and decaying morals, some things are simply sacrosanct. Of course, what I hold sacred personally may not be what you do, but I think you, viewer, will agree with me when I say that predicting the crash of a fighter plane because Modi flew in it could be a record new low for what has become possible as political attack. As an extension of the Panoti campaign against the Prime Minister, Trinamool MP Shantanu Sen, this guy in the glasses you see here, casually announced today that having been graced by the Prime Minister, we can now be sure that a Tejas fighter aircraft will crash next. What this shameless Member of Parliament forgets is that the families of fighter pilots are watching an elected representative practically will a crash to happen because of his political misgivings about Modi. I've interacted with the families of fighter pilots, viewer, for the last 20 years or so, written about them, tracked their lives, their hopes, their dreams. I've lost count of the number of fathers, mothers, wives, children who meditate and pray for the entire duration that their loved ones are on a fighter sortie. This is not because of a lack of trust in pilots or the Air Force, but because for family members it's become a habit. I know a pilot deployed at a base in Rajasthan whose wife receives a WhatsApp message from her husband minutes before he is to take off. As soon as she hears the fighter roar off the runway, she runs to their puja room. She remains there until she receives a message from her husband telling her that he has landed safely. More than pilots, an entire community of flight engineers, ground crew, maintenance staff, aeronautical scientists are all directly linked to the well-being of fighter aircraft. For developers and builders, aircraft are like your own child. The Tejas is only the second fighter aircraft that India has developed and built in its history. As a country with the dubious reputation of being one of the largest importers of military hardware, the Tejas is a shining example of our will to be self-reliant. The Tejas program has had many years of development, challenges and delays, but the aircraft has now been in service for years. And I can tell you that pilots love the Tejas. They love flying it, they love what it can do, and they cannot wait for an improved version of the Tejas that begins delivery next year to meet an order for 83 aircraft worth $6.5 billion. For no less than a Member of Parliament to be so bloodless and cynical as to casually prophesize the crash of an aircraft because someone he dislikes flew in it is an insult to all pilots, to their families, to the Indian Air Force and to the military in general. It is a message to them from this Member of Parliament and the political class in general that the impulse for political insult does not respect lines of sanctity, does not respect life. For all the amazing science and tech that goes into the making of a fighter aircraft, I can tell you that fighter pilots and their families are a superstitious lot when it comes to aviation. The logic is, if the work you do literally requires you to occupy a very thin line between life and death, then showing some respect to fate and providence cannot hurt. Why even tempt fate? Even if you aren't superstitious in general, when it comes to the life of a loved one, all those disclaimers evaporate. And that's why Trinamool MP Shantanu Sen's words cross a very sacred line. In his eagerness to tarnish a political rival, he has affronted the military, telling them their hopes and dreams don't matter in the shadow of election compulsions. To end, viewer, I'd like to say simply this. The Tejas first flew in 2001. The fleet has spent a cumulative 22 years in the air with nearly a decade of operational service with the Indian Air Force. And in all this time, it hasn't suffered one single crash. Not one single crash. I am an atheist. I'm a non-believer, viewer. and don't believe in superstitions at all. But today I'll make an exception by praying that the unkind words of an MP never ever come true. I hope the Tejas and its pilots always have happy landings. A wish I extend to all our pilots, no matter what they're flying. Thank you for listening.